Making headlines. The new ambassador of Japan to the Maldives reaffirms her commitment to advancing the strong ties between the two countries. The new High Commissioner of the United Kingdom to the Maldives expressed his commitment to enhancing the strong relations between the two countries, training opportunities to enhance the capacity of the healthcare sector.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to PSM News in English with me, Hafiz Abdusattar. And now the news in detail. President Dr. Mohamed Muiz points out that tobacco remains the leading cause of cancer in the Maldives, as he urged the Maldivian people to avoid the habit. In a message on social media platforms on the occasion of World Cancer Day, President Dr. Muiz urged his people to resolve to quit the habit this year. The president later, in an official message, said the world remains united under the powerful theme, United by Unique, highlighting the individuality of each person's cancer journey while emphasizing their collective strength. According to President, the Maldives is on track to achieving the global and regional goal of eliminating cervical cancer as a public health concern by 2030. President said that currently, through primary health care, both at island and atoll levels, screening is available for 5 common cancers, while efforts are also underway to establish specialized screening facilities, which will further support the implementation of these programs that will also be expanded to the urban healthcare facilities. He added that the recent ban on electronic cigarettes and strengthening of tobacco control legislation and policies, including free cessation services, demonstrates the administration's unwavering dedication to safeguard the Maldivian people from potential cancer risk factors. The new ambassador of Japan to the Maldives, Ishigami Rumiko, presents her letters of credence to President Dr. Mohamed Muiz and reaffirms her commitment to advancing the strong ties between the two countries and explore more areas of collaborations.
The new ambassador of Japan to the Maldives, Ishigami Rumiko, presents her letter of credence to President Dr. Mohamed Muiz and reaffirms her commitment to advancing the strong ties between the two countries and expand more areas of collaboration. The ambassador was escorted to the president's office to her credential ceremony from the Republic Square in a cultural procession called Haikoro with the Maldives National Defense Force (MNDF) drum and trumpet band. The ambassador presented her letter to credence to President, who accepted it and welcomed her as the ambassador of Japan to the Maldives. Following the presentation, the President and the Disaster Management Assistance and Renewable Energy. During the meeting, the President and the ambassador expressed their interest in collaborating to further advance the strong ties between both nations. The President also thanked the Japan government for its continuous support in various developmental efforts in the Maldives. Shortly after presenting her credential, the ambassador called on the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Dr. Abdullah Khalil. During the meeting held at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Minister Dr. Khalil congratulated the ambassador and reaffirmed the appreciation for long-standing cooperation and friendship between the two countries. Minister Dr. Khalil underscored the enduring friendship and close partnership between Maldives and Japan and expressed appreciation of the people and the government of Maldives to the government of Japan for the steadfast support extended to the Maldives. The minister acknowledged Japan's significant contribution both through the official development program of Japan and also through the grassroots project scheme that have directly benefited local communities by enhancing livelihoods, welfare and community development. Ambassador Ishigami thanked the minister for the warm welcome and reiterated her commitment to working closely with the government and the people of Maldives in continuing the efforts to enhance the bilateral relationship between both countries in areas of mutual interest. Both the minister and ambassador concurred to cooperate towards further consolidate the deep-root bond of friendship and enhance people-to-people exchange between the two countries. Diplomatic relationship between the Maldives and Japan were established on 14th November 1967.
The new High Commissioner of the United Kingdom to the Maldives, Nicholas David Lowe, presented his letters of credence to President Dr. Mohamed Muiz on Tuesday and expressed his commitment to enhancing the strong relations between the two countries during his tenure. The High Commissioner was escorted to the President's office by his credential ceremony from Republic Square in a cultural procession called Hakkolu, with the Maldives National Defence Force MNDF drum and trumpet band. The High Commissioner presented his letters of credence to the President, who accepted them and welcomed him as the High Commissioner of the United Kingdom to the Maldives. Following the presentation, the President and High Commissioner engaged in discussions on enhancing bilateral relations and other mutual interests, including advancing higher education cooperation and tourism. They also had a dynamic conversation regarding efforts to mitigate climate change and its impacts. Diplomatic relations between the Maldives and the United Kingdom were established on 26 July 1965. Maldives has held discussions with South Korea on facilitating training opportunities to assist ongoing efforts to enhance the human resource capacity of the island nation's healthcare sector. The discussions were held during Minister of Health Abdullah Nazim Ibrahim's meeting with the Vice Minister of Health and Welfare of Korea, Park Min-soo.
Maldives has held discussions with South Korea on facilitating training opportunities to assist ongoing efforts to enhance the human resource capacity of the island's nation's healthcare sector. The discussions were held during Minister of Health Abdullah Nazim Ibrahim meeting with the Vice Minister of Health and Welfare of Korea, Park Min-soo. According to the Ministry of Health, the discussions between the two ministers were focused towards exploring opportunities in healthcare training programs and digital health solutions to enhance service delivery in the Maldives. Minister Nazim is currently in Geneva, Switzerland, to attend the 156th Executive Board meeting of the World Health Organization, WHO. Speaking at the meeting, the minister highlighted the Maldives' key priorities in the health sector. He reaffirmed the Maldives' commitment to providing health services equally and without discrimination under the slogan of Health for All. He noted ongoing efforts to strengthen primary health care, PHC, to provide services to the people in an accessible manner.
The Central Bank Monetary Authority of Maldives, MMA, figures shows that the Maldives tax revenue increased last year in comparison to the year before. According to the MMA's monthly statistics report, tax revenue increased by 6.7% last year from the figure in 2023.
Central Bank Monetary Authority of Maldives MMA figures show that the Maldives tax revenue increased last year in comparison to the year before. According to the MMA's monthly statistics report, tax revenue increased by 6.7% last year from the figure in 2023. The report said Maldives has received $1.56 billion in tax revenue in 2023. However, the figure had increased $1.63 billion in 2024, which is an increase of 6.7% from the year before. MMS report shows that revenue from all major tax brackets increased last year. In that regard, revenue from tourism GST increased from $564.2 million in 2023 to $583.7 million last year. Revenue from GST on non-tourism sector followed a similar trend, registering an increase from $285.3 million in 2023 to $304.8 million in 2024. Airport service charge also was up from $64.1 million to $64.9 million last year. According to the report, bank profit tax or BPT collection stood at $90.8 million last year, up from $62.7 million in 2023. Business profit tax revenue, meanwhile, increased from $246.4 million in 2023 to $265.9 million a year later. The report shows that green tax revenue also increased last year. In 2023, green tax collection totaled $64.8 million. However, last year the figure rose to $64.9 million according to the MMA report. Income tax collection in 2024 was $25.3 million up from $23.2 million the previous year. Maldives Inland Revenue Authority (MIRA) has initiated several initiatives to ensure timely tax payment and implemented strict enforcement measures for collection.
Maldives immigration says that most undocumented expatriates in the Maldives are using the second chance offered by the government to legalize.
Maldives immigration says that the most undocumented expatriates in the Maldives are using the second chance offered by the government to legalize. The administration aims to solve the long-standing issue of undocumented migrants effectively and has been working closely with enforcement agencies to resolve the challenges. To support these efforts, a designated task force has been established, comprising members from enforcement agencies and various government ministries. The task force has been conducting a series of raids and surprise inspections to identify undocumented expatriates across the country. In addition to deporting undocumented migrants, the government is also offering pathways for undocumented individuals to regularize their status. Speaking to PSM News, Chief Immigration Officer Ahmed Mujtaba said that immigrants who are not paying their regular fees, those who are in the process of changing employers, and those who have not completed the regularization program have been identified during the operation. Such expatriates are given an additional opportunity to legalize, he said. According to Mujtaba, when immigration officers revisit the accommodations block, most of them have been found to have seized the second chance and completed the legalization. Maldives immigration has intensified efforts to crack down on undocumented expatriates as its aim to solve the long-standing issue within 3 years.
The major stock indices closes lower but partly recovered from initial steeper losses as U.S. President Donald Trump delayed tariffs on Mexico after his orders to levy tariffs on 3 countries sparked a global scramble to save haven assets earlier in the day. Trump said he has paused planned tariffs on Mexico for 1 month after the nation agreed to reinforce its northern border with 10,000 National Guard members to stem the flow of illegal drugs, particularly fentanyl. Over the weekend, Trump has announced hefty new tariffs of 25% on imports from Mexico and Canada and 10% on China, which he said may cause a short-term pain for Americans.
Markets have experienced a quick, sharp move down and a drift since this morning, and it should feel like deja vu. It's exactly where we were last week for totally different reasons. The tariffs that were introduced over the weekend really threw into the market persona of moving away from the election into more growth-oriented, the Fed easing, perhaps not as much in 2025, but down the road, to now more questions about what can we expect for inflation, what can we expect for growth, as this new wrench of this implementation of tariffs with 3 of our largest trading partners really starts to come through the system and the psyche of the investor here in the U.S.
According to preliminary data, the S&P 500 lost 45.45 points or 0.75% to end at 5,995.01 points, while the Nasdaq Composite lost 235.21 points or 1.20% to 19,392.23. The Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 124.47 points or 0.27% to 44,420.19. Authorities begin the task of clearing the millions of tons of rubble left by the war as aid continued to enter the Strip.
Heavy machinery was seen clearing away rubble in Rafah. With fighting in Gaza post, Palestinians are appealing for billions of dollars in emergency aid, from heavy machinery to clear rubble to tents and caravans to house people made homeless by Israeli bombardment. The recover more than 10,000 immediate funding needs of $6.5 billion for temporary housing for Gaza's more than 2 million people, even before the huge task of long-term reconstruction begins.
U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio says that El Salvador offered to house in its jails dangerous criminals from anywhere in the world deported by the United States. He made these remarks after lengthy talks with the Central American country's leader. Rubio, who is on his first overseas tour as the U.S. top diplomat, is seeking support from countries in the region for the Trump administration's attempts to deport large numbers of migrants. He met with El Salvador's President Nayib Bukele and senior officials at Bukele's residence on Lake Cotepeque outside the capital for almost 3 hours, where they agreed to go beyond El Salvador's acceptance of its own deported citizens.
First, obviously, he continues with full cooperation on the returning of Salvadorians who find themselves illegally in the United States and welcome them back home. And that's already existing, and that will continue. But second, he has agreed to accept for deportation any illegal alien in the United States who is a criminal from any nationality, be they MS-13 or Tren de Aragua, and house them in his jails. And third, he has offered to house in his jails dangerous American criminals in custody in our country, including those of U.S. citizenship and legal residence.
Bukele also offered to house dangerous criminals who are U.S. citizens or legal residents. Rubio said although it was unclear whether the U.S. would take up that offer. Rubio said more details of the agreement would be forthcoming. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte says that the European defense without the United States will not work and expressed the concern during a press conference with British Prime Minister Keir Starmer in Brussels. Rutte told reporters NATO, or whatever the organization is then called without the US, that will not work. British stressing it was important to work with both partners on areas such as trade and security.
Yeah, but that means that you have European defense without the US being involved. That's what you're saying. That is a NATO or whatever the organization is then called. Bad enough. It is a geopolitical thing which is going on. The US, so this is a geopolitical, this is a playing out at the moment with Ukraine, and therefore Ukraine.
Informal meeting in the Belgian capital on Monday after global financial markets fell over tariffs imposed on Canada, Mexico and China by US President Donald Trump, bracing for his next moves with the EU in the firing line. Tottenham Hotspur says that the Premier League club have signed French forward Mathys Tel from Bayern Munich on a loan deal until the end of this season. Tel joined Bayern from Stade Rennes in 2022 on a 4-year deal and extended his contract to 2029 in March last year and has scored 16 goals in 83 appearances for the German club but has struggled to find a place in the starting side. The 19-year-old has started 2 Bundesliga games this season and came on as a substitute in 6 league matches. He has failed to score this campaign. According to media reports, Tottenham has an option to make the deal permanent at the end of the season. Spurs are 14th in the Premier League standings and their next game is a League Cup semi-final second leg tie at Liverpool on Thursday with Spurs 0-0 up from the first leg. A violin made by renowned Italian craftsman Antonio Stradivari could fetch between 12 to 18 million US dollars when it hits the auction block at Sotheby's, New York later this week. The Joachim Marr violin dates to Stradivari's golden period. It was made by the craftsman in 1714 when he was about 70 years old.
This one is also from the golden period. The golden period is a period of his production, which was the very peak of his production. So at the time he made this violin in 1714, he was about 70 years old. And one would think that that's pretty elderly for a luthier, but at that point he had really perfected the craft, changed the shape of the violin, and gotten to the point where he had perfected exactly how to create the best possible sound. So that's why these are the most prized Stradivarius violins.
The 1721 Lady Blunt Stradivarius sold for a record of $15.9 million in 2011. Now, the New England Conservatory, NEC, is offering the Joachim Marr Stradivarius, with proceeds going to student scholarships fulfilling the wish of a musician and NEC graduate Sihon Marr, who donated the violin to the music school.
So this is a 1714 golden period Stradivarius. So this is a violin that was created by Antonio Stradivari in the city of Cremona in Italy, and these are synonymous with the quintessential musical instrument.
The auction will take place on February 7th during Sotheby's Masters Week. And that's all we have for this hour. Thank you for watching. Wish you all a very pleasant time ahead.